Have you ever heard of someone hiding their soul just to live forever? In the darkest corners of Slavic folklore, there's a name that few dare to speak of: Koschei the Deathless, a sorcerer cursed to roam the shadows. He possessed immortality at an unbelievable cost. His heart and his soul inside a needle, sealed in an egg, hidden deep within a wooden log, buried inside a remote, forgotten place, guarded by horrifying magical creatures. But Koschei wasn't content with simply being deathless. His twisted idea of amusement often involved those poor souls who came too close to his home. In a forgotten corner of the world, deep within the shadowy forests, there stood a dark palace, Koschei's palace. Few had seen it, and even fewer lived to tell the tale. Lost travelers, exhausted and desperate, would sometimes come across this haunted place. They would be greeted by Koschei the Deathless himself. Koschei was an evil soul from the beginning. With his fake kindness, he would invite every other traveler in his area to a grand feast. And the guests, hungry, would follow him into the palace, their fears forgotten for a minute. The dining hall was vast, its walls crumbling with age, but the table was something out of a dream. It was long and filled with every kind of food anyone could imagine: golden meats, fresh bread, sweet fruits, and the finest wine. The travelers would sit, amazed at the treat. But as they ate, something felt off. The food tasted strange, as if it had been left out for too long. The wine was thick and had a metallic taste. The servants, who moved in silence, had cold, lifeless eyes, as though they were not human. Then came the realization. The food wasn't fresh at all. The meat was rotting flesh. The bread was filled with worms, and the wine was blood. The guests' horror grew. But that wasn't the worst part. They looked closer at the servants. Their skin was pale, their bodies were decaying, and their eyes were empty. These servants were once like the guests, but now they were trapped forever, forced to serve Koschei for the rest of their lives. By dawn, the travelers would become part of this nightmarish spread. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't leave. But one night, a different traveler arrived. His name was Ivan, a courageous warrior, armed with a silver blade and a powerful spell from a witch. He entered the dark forest and found Koschei's palace. Koschei invited Ivan to his dark palace, but Ivan refused, as he had already heard of the tales about him. He knew that to kill Koschei, he had to find the egg with a hidden needle that held his soul. But finding that egg was far from easy. He whispered an ancient spell that he learnt from an ancient wizard that took him deep inside a maze. The air was dense, and the walls moved constantly, trying to trap him inside. He somehow managed to reach the heart of the maze, where he saw a riddle engraved on a stone. One wrong, and the path would be sealed forever. But Ivan, remembering all the wizard's teachings, solved the riddle with cleverness. As he placed the last stone in the right spot, the ground shook as a log containing a fragile egg appeared. Inside the egg was a needle, the source of Koschei's immortality. With the egg in hand, Ivan entered Koschei's palace. Upon entering, he encountered the immortal sorcerer. With one swift strike, Ivan shattered the egg. Koschei let out a terrifying scream as his body crumbled into dust. The curse lifted, and the undead servants returned to life. The haunted palace faded away. But as his name suggests, Koschei was never truly gone. His dust scattered into the wind, but the shadows whispered his name as if the darkness still held a piece of him. In another story, set in a distant kingdom ruled by a mighty king, Koschei's presence was felt once more. But this time, he appeared just like us, a decent human. In this kingdom lived a talented weaver named Elara. She was known throughout the land for her beautiful tapestries. Each one told a story, bringing joy and color to her village. But one day, her work attracted the attention of a dark figure, Koschei the Deathless. He was already feared by many, and this time, he had a terrible plan. Koschei wanted Elara to weave a unique tapestry. This tapestry would trap the souls of the living, giving him even more power over life and death. One night, he appeared before her, covered in shadows. He said,
I can give you immortality and incredible skill in exchange for your soul.
As he talked, his eyes glowed fiery red. Elara was both curious and cautious.
That sounds fascinating. But tell me, what makes you immortal?
She said slowly. After thinking for a while, Koschei replied,
An egg holds my heart. If you join me, you can gain immortality but must surrender your soul to me. With this power, you can weave your destiny. Together, we will create magic that traps the souls of your village, making us stronger than ever before.
Elara felt a chill run down her spine. She accepted his offer, but had a secret plan. As she worked, she stitched hidden secrets into her tapestries. Each night, she wove in a bit of bravery and cleverness. She was planning to get rid of him. She chased after all the clues that could lead her to that egg that held Koschei's soul, but all went in vain. She heard a rumor that the egg was hidden in an old tomb, but that was merely a trick to misguide her. Every time she was about to get close, Koschei's spell pushed her further away. At last, a giant old tree, deep in the dark forest, whispered a secret path to her. That path led her to a cave inside a mountain. But it wasn't as easy as it sounds. She faced a magical guardian who kept changing shapes to confuse her. After being steadfast and dodging all its tricks, she finally found the egg behind an ordinary rock. One stormy night, when the winds howled, she finally decided to confront Koschei the Deathless.
Your heart is not safe with me,
She shouted. Koschei's eyes turned fiery red, but Elara was ready. Using her threads, she trapped him in a web of her making.
You underestimate my power,
She said. Suddenly, she took out the egg that trapped Koschei's immortal soul. At this time, Koschei seemed scared. He knew that now his own life was in threat. Elara, with all the power and secrets, knew exactly what to do to defeat this deathless evil. She instantly threw the egg on a rock, and Koschei screamed as he faded away. Elara shouted,
I will not be your prisoner, nor will I let any evil get into my village people.
However, Koschei's cruelty didn't stop there. This time, he took it further, entering an even more horrifying darkness. One another chilling tale is about Vasilisa, a beautiful girl who lived in a quiet village and was known for her kindness and bravery. One dark day, while wandering near the edge of a shadowy forest, she caught the eye of Koschei. The moment he looked at her, he was fascinated by her beauty.
I must have her as my bride,
He thought. With a heart as cold as ice, Koschei used his dark magic. In an instant, Vasilisa was trapped in a cursed place known as the Iron Forest. But this was no ordinary forest. It was a living nightmare. Towering trees twisted like giant fingers, and the air was thick with a haunting feel. Inside the Iron Forest hid all kinds of evil spirits. These were angry souls and creepy creatures that swiped through the shadows. They whispered scary secrets and filled the air with chilling laughter, haunting Vasilisa day and night. But instead of surrendering to despair, Vasilisa's determination grew stronger.
This has to end now. I'm going to make him pay for everything he has done,
She promised herself. Just then, Vasilisa discovered the dark secret of Koschei's immortality. It was tied to a hidden egg. With the help of a mysterious talking raven, she set off on a dangerous hunt to find it. Her journey was filled with danger at every turn. Strange creatures hid in the shadows, their eyes glowing like fiery coals, watching her every move. At last, after much struggle and fighting off millions of scary creatures, Vasilisa found the egg that held Koschei's soul. Her hands shook as she reached for it.
Could this really be the key to end Koschei's evilness?
She talked to herself. With a deep breath, Vasilisa smashed the needle inside. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the forest, freezing her in place. Koschei's body began to break apart into dust, and his terrifying rule was coming to an end. As the Iron Forest faded away like a bad dream, the trapped spirits were set free. Vasilisa couldn't believe her eyes. as the darkness lifted, showing her the beautiful sky above. Looking for more chilling legends that will give you an adrenaline rush? Don't wait. Head over to our channel now and dive into the excitement.